All right, this is your installation video for the new version of the software, the Pinup software for the Ultra VP. So what you should have is you should have a mouse and keyboard, whether it's a full-size mouse and keyboard like I have here, or whether it's a small compact one that I had recommended that's wireless, it doesn't matter. What you should also have is you should have your Wi-Fi dongle ready in case you need it. And by now you should have probably received your hard drive, basically your new SSD hard drive, and your dongle here. It doesn't matter what number is on these hard drives, so ignore it if it doesn't match the number that you had last time. These numbers are just random and don't matter at all. So those things, make sure that you also get a copy of the manual that I've created, which is you can download and then print. That's going to help you as well. Now, the first step obviously is to install the new SSD hard drive and remove the old one. So when you remove the old one, make sure the machine is completely shut down. There's no power going to any of the components. And if you don't know how to install an SSD, there is a video that talks about how to install it. Now that you have the SSD installed, the dongle, we leave that one off for now. So that one will be connected only after this installation process. All right, guys, so we're going to boot up Windows here right now. So that's the next step. And as Windows is booting up, what's going to happen is it will be looking for the encryption dongle. Since it's not there, it will throw up an error window here in the middle. You will see that happening in a few seconds. And that little window is normal. It basically says, I can't find it and I will not start the software. And that's what we want, because we want to stay inside of the Windows on the desktop here. So give it a second here. There we go. And this is that little window. And it basically says an error code and it says can't find license. So what you do is you just hit cancel on that. And now that we're on the desktop, we're good to go. We'll start with the first step. The first step is to check the monitors. Make sure that all the monitors that we have here are properly set up. What you do is you use your mouse anywhere on the desktop. You right click, not left click, right click. You then left click on display settings. And this is the window that will pop up. Let me actually center that so you guys can see it. All right, let me zoom in. There we go. All right, this is what we need. Let me actually try to get it right. Sorry about it not being super sharp. I'm not recording the screen itself. I'm actually using my video camera for this. So under the display window, what's important here is the straight line that goes across the top here. Now, some of you will have 4 monitors. It will say 1, 2, 3, and 4. That's if you have a topper monitor, number 4 should be showing up. If it doesn't show up and you have a topper monitor, your monitor is not correctly plugged in, all right, and not active. So this is very important. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, very important, like I said, make sure it's lined up exactly like this. You do not want these to be offset in any way. You want that top line to go across all the way, including number 4 if it's there. After that is done and you have actually hit the identify button, which is right here under there, this identify button will give you numbers that it will show. It will show you what numbers are on which screen. So 1 is your primary display, which is the play field. And then 2 should be your back glass, the 32-inch monitor. Then 3, you should be able to see on the DMD screen. If you don't see 3, it's because you may have the thinner cutout and you'll have to really just literally look into the little slit between the monitor and the bottom portion of that cutout to see the 3. It's kind of showing at the bottom of the monitor. The monitor is the same size as our stern type cutouts, but it's not showing because it's not cut out enough. So you can kind of identify the number 3 kind of in there somewhere. But it's not important if you don't see it. Don't worry about it. And then number 4 is going to show up on the topper. Okay, so click on that. Make sure that you see 1, 2, 3, 4. If you don't see 3, don't worry about it. Now, further down, which is the section right at the bottom here, that one says scale and layout. For each one of these monitors, you want that scale and layout to be set to 100. If it's not on 100, change it and set it to 100. So you can click on each one of these monitors and it will tell you what the scale is. All right, so 2 and 3. So all of that is important. Make sure that the scale is correct. Also, if you scroll down a little bit more, let me zoom in a little so you can see what I'm talking about. There's also the resolution setting here that is important to double check. My primary display and also yours should be set into 4K, and as you can see, that means the 3840 by 2160. That's recommended for the primary display, the first big screen, right? Now, if you go down to the second screen and scroll down and look, that one right here is only going to have 1920 by 1080, and every other monitor there will have that. So that should be what you can see. Now, the one on top should be at 1920 by 700 something. So I'm talking about the topper monitor. That's also normal. Now that we're done making sure that the monitors are lined up correctly, that the scale of each monitor is set at 100%, and that the resolution is accurate on each one of the monitors, you can close out. If there's anything that says that you need to accept or set it or save it, make sure of course you hit any of those buttons. It's not always the case, so if it was already set correctly, just hit the X mark. The X mark is of course the top right X up here. So close that window. The next step here is NVIDIA graphics card settings. So what you want to do is take your cursor and go to your search bar here at the bottom. You're going to have to hit the search bar with the cursor for it to show up. Then click inside the search bar and type in NVIDIA, NVID, should be enough. And you'll see it showing up here at the top. Let me actually scroll up. This is going to be the search result that you will see here coming up, NVIDIA control panel. You want to left click on that one time, and that will then bring up right here the NVIDIA window. Let me actually center that for us. All right, so this window here should have a title called NVIDIA Control Panel, and you will see that it has different sections that you can get into. On the left-hand side, these are the different sections, and then this shows each section and what's inside. So the first section we want to go to is basically the display section on the left side. So we're going to click on display, and under there, change resolution. So change resolution is where we want to be set to. Now, once you're on change resolution, you want to double check what's going on with these 3 displays that we have. This is a machine with 3 displays only, so you may have a 4th one here, which is okay. Now, the important part is that we make sure that the resolution is set correctly. So when you click on the primary display, which is the first monitor, which is the bigger one on the picture, you click on that. At the bottom here in this little box, let me actually zoom in. There you go. So when you zoom in, you can see you have all these different resolutions that show. You want that the large monitor here to be set on 3840 by 2160 native. That's the one that should be set. It probably already is. Just double check that it is. Also, the next monitor over, when you click on the second one here, when you click on that, the resolution should be set on 1920 by 1080 native. Next one over, the same thing. So all of the settings, and the 4th one also should have a resolution that says native. That is important that that's all set correctly, all right? But more importantly, let's go back to the first monitor. So I'm going to click back on the main one. So as you can see, when you click on that primary monitor again, you'll have a section up here called Apply on the following settings, right? Sorry, my finger keeps it going in and out of focus. So that section that says Apply the following settings, you want that to be set to use NVIDIA color settings. So in other words, that second button, not the first one that says use default color setting, but use NVIDIA color settings. Once you're set on that, then you look and make sure it's set to output dynamic range needs to be on full. That last setting, that's the one that usually is not set correctly. All right, all the other ones should be the way they show here, and they should be like that already. So the desktop color depth, that should be set to highest 32-bit. The output color depth should be set to 8 BPC and the output color format to RGB. So make sure that is all correct. If it is not correct and you have to make a change, it will give you an option of saving that, I believe. Let me actually try to do this here. Yes, as you can see at the bottom here, if I change anything, to the bottom right, you'll see right here, there's an apply button that you need to click. Don't forget to do that. Now I'm going to go back and change mine back to full, the way it should be here, and then that is going to just go away, and I'm going to hit apply. There you go. So that's taken care of. Now something to notice, if you click on the other monitors, those other 2 or 3, not the primary, you're going to find that this whole section under apply the following settings doesn't have any options other than the highest. It says highest 32-bit. That's all it needs to be on. You don't have to change that. Now let's go to the second section, which is the video section right here. And under that video section, what we need to do is go under adjust video color settings, which is the first choice. All right. That first choice, once it's clicked, will change what is shown here on the right. Like we did before, let's select the primary monitor first by clicking on it. And once you've clicked on it, then what you want to do is you want to make sure that you select with the NVIDIA settings. So that's the second choice down here, not the first one. So make sure that the button is pressed. And the bottom here, under dynamic range, it has to say full 0 through 255. That is something you may have to adjust by pulling down the menu and setting it to full 0 to 255. If you do and it was different, don't forget to hit the apply button on the bottom right. All right, that concludes the NVIDIA settings portion of the installation. So all you have to do now is close the window, go back up to the top right X and make it disappear. Now we're going back to the search bar for the next section. That section is entitled Updating the Control Board Firmware. So that's important. We're going to click down here and we're going to type in the word File Explorer. So F-I-L-E. You don't even have to go past File. That should be enough for you to then see File Explorer pop up here. Use your mouse, drag, stay of course within this box, and then left click on File Explorer. All right, that opens up File Explorer. It looks like something like this. So your next step is to locate on the left-hand side here the area that says this PC, and right underneath it, it says Ultra VP C. So that's what you want. It's basically your local drive C. And once you click on this Ultra VP C, on the right-hand side, it will fill in the content of the drive. And this is where you're going to want to find your Pinscape config tool. So there is a directory right here that says Pinscape config. So again, double click on Pinscape config tool folder. It's actually a left click. So double left click until you open up the content, and you'll see in here the file that you need to open is going to be the one that says Pinscape config tool.exe. So what's important is to make sure that under here, under the file type, it is the application file that you open up, not the config file or the bin file or anything else. It has to be the application file. And again, that one is called Pinscape config tool. So .exe. So click on that one or left click on it, double click until it opens up this program. So let me go back out and show you. This is what you should end up with. It actually has a title that says Pinscape Setup at the top, all right? So that's important. Now, in the middle here, you'll see that it has a variety of different choices that it gives you. The one that we want to start with, this is actually for the firmware update, is going to be the third one over. The one that says Update right here. So left click on Update, and that will then pop up these different things that pop in here right here. Step 1, it says select the firmware version to install. Okay, so this is important. Now there are two ways of doing this. If you have your Wi-Fi dongle installed and already connected to the internet, it will be able to pull it down and download it. As you can see, the latest version is always the one you want. So even if it shows you 3 different ones up here, you always want to pick the last one. Or most of you have received the bin file on your hard drive. I didn't do it from the get-go, so some of them may not have the bin file. And if you don't, obviously you need to use your Wi-Fi dongle. But if you have it, you can browse for the file right here. Click on that. It will pop up File Explorer again. You're going to go to the C drive again and back into the Pinscape config tool folder. And in there, you'll find something called Pinscape_controller KLZ bin. Let me zoom into this so that you can see it. I know it's not very sharp because it's a video, but I will do my best here. So there we go. So this Pinscape_controller dot underscore and then another underscore KLZ25Z.bin. That is your firmware file. That's the one you want to click on. And once you've clicked on it, then you want to go to the bottom left actually, sorry, the bottom right, and you hit open. So once you hit open, what's going to happen is it will go through, and I'll show you that. You can see how it's progressing now. It has gone through step 2 where it says saving current settings. That's done. Now it wants you to do the plug in the programming port, step 3. So this is where you need to open up your front coin door, not the back, the front of the machine. Open up your coin door, and I'll show you what that looks like. All right, so we have the coin door open, and we're going to kind of peek inside. You see that green board there? And that green board has that controller, that KLZ controller mounted on top of it. And you will have that gray USB cable sticking out. So what it wants you to do is just take that cable, unplug it, and then plug it into the same port on the right. That basically is the programming port. Once you do that, you can hear it being recognized, and that's going to allow the firmware to install itself, and it will progress through to the next step. All right. So here you can see that it went to step number 4, and it's basically saying, are you ready to go install now? So click on install now, and you're going to see a window pop up. And that little window, after a few seconds, will basically show you the progress of that firmware update. So for me, it's already done, and it's now telling me plug in back into the joystick port. So you're going to do the reverse of what you just did earlier. Here we are again. I'm going to go in, and we're going to pull the cable right out of the programming port, and we're going to put it back into the joystick port. There we go, if I can do it. There. And you're going to hear it again. So this is it. Once you've done this, it will have progressed past step 6, where it says restore settings, and it says the firmware update was successfully completed. As always, let's close all the windows because we're done with this next step. You guys know how to do that. Hit the top right X on this window and also on the file manager window as well. The next step is updating the jukebox file. There is an issue with the jukebox file as it stands. We figured it out after we burned the gold image. And so that jukebox file, for it to start and open up every single time correctly, we need to put it into compatibility mode, what I call it, right? So again, as usual, open up your File Explorer. We're going to go down to the bottom, as we did before, to your search bar. So we're going to click in here and type in the word file again. And we will then click on File Explorer up on top. So left click until it opens up. There we go. We have our File Explorer open. Okay, so to find the file, we need to go and open up the C drive again, which is on the left right here. So let's click on that. And then over here, you're going to want to go and scroll down to the folder called V Pinball. So we have it sitting right at the bottom here. You can't see it on my video, so let me go down. There it is. It's called V Pinball. It's one of the last folders. So I'm going to click on that and open it. Once you have V Pinball, you are going to look for the one on top called Jukebox. There is a folder here. I don't know if it ever gets itself situated here. Yeah, the third folder down is called Jukebox. So you want to open that one up, double click. And we're going to scroll down until we see this file right here. It's called coinops.exe, and that too is an application file. So look under the type and you'll see that it is an application file right about here, right in that section. That's the one you want to right click on in this case, not left click. You want to right click on coinops.exe, and you're going to want, let me actually make a better zoom. All right, this is much better. So once you have left click, sorry. Right click, let me know. Well, I'm losing it, sorry. So this is the coinops.exe file you highlight, then you right click on it and you go down to where it says properties at the very bottom and you left click on properties. Sorry about that. I nearly lost it. So here we go. So coinops, you have this window pop up and you want to click on the compatibility tab, which is the second tab on top. Once you see compatibility, you see an area that's called compatibility mode. That compatibility mode, you need to check mark, run the program in compatibility mode for Windows 8. So make sure this is check marked right here. Okay, so super important. And then at the bottom, you can see once you have this check marked and it does have Windows 8 selected, click OK. All right, so that basically what that does is it sets that coinops.exe jukebox file into a mode where it has to run and be compatible with Windows 8, and that will prevent Windows 10 from screwing up loading it. This is something that we encountered a few times and we figured out, okay, it's an older program, it has to be run under that compatibility. When you've done that, go ahead and close it up, hit the X on top, and we're done with that portion. Now we're ready to install the dongle. It's important that you can, so that we can restart and reboot the machine and finalize a few last steps for people that have version 4 and version 3 models. Version 5 models are basically done right now, and you will just put in your dongle and properly reboot. So let me help you with this. What we want to do is you're going to shut down the machine the way you normally would. You can use either your soft shutdown button underneath the front, or you can go down here and click on the Windows tab, the little Windows icon on the very left, and then go down where it gives you the power symbol. And under that power symbol, when you click, it basically has an option for shutdown. So that's what I'm doing right now. All right, so take your dongle, make sure that the cap is off, of course. You want to make sure that you have the USB showing, and you're going to turn it in such a way that you see those two little notches. There should be 4 little notches together. That's the way to turn it. And you just find a USB port. It doesn't matter which one. I'm going to use the top one here. There you go, to plug it in. All right, so once it's plugged in, now we can restart the machine and boot it up. Of course, if you didn't have it turned off completely yet with the power switch, make sure you do that first. Give it 10 seconds and then use that same main power switch to turn it back on and let it boot. All right, guys, so what's going to happen next is it's going to boot into Windows and it will actually load right into Pinup Popper. It will not stop. And if you did it right, you should see the bottom screen should look like what's about to show up here. There we go. So you should see it booting up like this. The middle screen should say hello, and then the top screen should look like this. So this is what your installation should look like. If it doesn't look like that, then you missed a step. You may want to go through your installation process one more time. Make sure that everything is set correctly. Okay, there we go. And of course, if you have a topper, and this machine does not, but if you had a topper monitor, that topper monitor would also be displaying something right now. Okay, the next step is for those of you who do not have this type of DMD screen. If your DMD screen looks like this, you have model 4.0 or 3.0, you're going to need to go through these steps. So the first thing you do is when you are in here, you're going to basically wait until you're in the menu system. You're going to hit your semicolon button here, this one right there, one time. What that's going to do is it's going to open up a window on the back glass that looks like this. Next is we're going to go under custom scripts. We want to position ourselves in custom scripts. The way you do that is you use your right arrow key, push until you get highlighted on there. So once you've used that, you should see it highlighted yellow. Once custom scripts is highlighted, you hit the enter button. And under enter, it's going to open up another window and it's going to basically show you these choices. What we want to do is we want to go down and make sure that full DMD is set to off. And by the way, this is also the area where you can change your flasher intensity, but we're going to leave that alone for now. We're going to go make sure that your full DMD is not on. So we're going to go scroll down to full DMD underscore off and hit enter. So first things first, use your arrow key to go down to the bottom. There we go. It's all set. And then hit enter. Okay, so once you have hit enter, you will then be able to, it will go away. The box will just disappear, right? And that's step 1 of 2 to make sure your DMD is correct. The next step is to jump out of Pinup Popper, and the way you do that is you hit your X button here on the keyboard one time, and that's going to basically jump back to Windows. And we're going to need to go to the configuration tool in order to set another setting correctly. So the next step is to go in and on the search bar type in the word Pinup. So I'm going to do that. Click in here and then Pinup. Once you have typed in Pinup right down here, you'll see a few choices pop up at the top. The one you want is the Pinup Popper config, not the front end, but the config. So once you do that, this will show up. And once you have this in the right, I'm going to move this up to the middle here to show you. What you want to do is you want to go under Popper Setup, the second tab at the top, and click the global config right there, and click on that. That's going to open up another window, and this window looks like this. This one has a bunch of tabs at the top as well, and under displays, click on that tab. The very bottom choice, you can see where it says Apron Full DMD right here. All right. For a 5.0 machine, that needs to be active, but for your machine, for a 3.0 and a 4.0, you're going to want this to be set to none. All right, very important. So you click on none, and don't forget to click save. All right, right here at the bottom, hit save. Once you have it on none, you do that. The next step is, of course, to close this and to basically say exit setup. Do not hit exit and launch, hit exit setup and go ahead and reboot your system completely. So you can do that either the way I just showed it earlier, or just hitting and clicking your soft shutdown button on the front and then switching the whole system off. All right, so that should be the end, and that should be good enough. But should there be issues, there are a few troubleshooting sections at the bottom of that manual that I have here. But let's first talk about a few other things that are important for all of you, regardless of model type. There's a section called 18 plus password. So the password for your unit to get into the 18 plus section is 1606. The other thing, flasher brightness adjustment, how to adjust the flashers on the backside. We're talking about the ones right here. It's pretty simple. Follow the instructions here on here. It has everything to do with, again, going into that box that shows up and gives you access to the custom scripts. So that's that, read that. And last but not least, there are some tables out there that actually will mess up Pinup Popper when you play them. Very few, and these are known issues with the pinball community. One in particular is the Batman 66, the newer table. When you play that, it will then prevent other pop pack tables that have video playback on the back glass from playing those videos properly. So all you have to do is go again under the under this custom script section and restart Popper. For those of you who have questions about this, read this manual carefully. It goes step by step through what you have to do. It's pretty simple. And there's also a troubleshooting guide on the very back section. That's in case pinball FX tables do not work, like the flippers and the buttons don't respond. It tells you exactly what to do in order to alleviate that step, that issue, I mean. And then last but not least, there's another section that talks about screen positioning being off. If your screen position is off, again, it's basically 2 pages long. You can try and see if you can fix it that way. All right, we're here to help, of course, but this video in conjunction with the manual should get most of you guys up and running. Thank you for listening, and again, for all your support.